Hello, hello! For today's video, we're going to be talking about the books that you were made to read in school. Hello! When I was at school, we were made to read certain books as part of our literature. I remember that I read Anne Frank's diary, which I'm so glad that I did, because to this day it remains one of my favourite books. It's one of the most powerful books that I've ever read, and it's definitely one of those books that if I was to recommend a book that I think everyone should read at some point in their life, then Anne Frank's diary would definitely be up there. I also remember reading The Caucasian Chalk Circle whilst I was in secondary school. Definitely not a book that I would have discovered had it not been on the school reading list. But again, it was actually quite good. There's some books as well that were on like the reading list, but that my class didn't actually have to read because we did an alternative book and things, and that's things like To Kill a Mockingbird. I remember that some of my friends that were in a different class to me, they actually got to read that one, and I was like, oh, I wanted to read that, and instead we had a different book to read. And it is one of those books, though. I did read To Kill a Mockingbird as an adult and thoroughly enjoyed it. Maybe I wouldn't have realised quite how good a book it was or how powerful it was had I read it whilst I was in school. I don't know. It's one of those things that I think about, are there some books like that, like these really powerful books or whatever, the classics that, a lot of people have read. Do you think there's a difference between reading them at a certain age as opposed to reading them later on? I would love to hear your feedback about this. This is all come out because my youngest has to read, well, this is the Italian version because he's reading the Italian version. This is GGG. For those of you that don't know Italian, that would be BFG in English, so Big Friendly Giant, which in Italian is Grande Gigante Gentile, which basically means Big Friendly Giant. Okay, so my son is reading like I said, the Italian version for school. I actually remember reading the English version of this book, so the original, when I was a kid. I believe I read it in school as well. Roald Dahl was definitely one of those authors that I think came up a lot as books that we read in school. I remember reading Matilda and things as well. I would be curious to go back and reread them now as an adult, to see if I still think they are really good books or not. I'm definitely curious to see what my son makes of this particular one. We have seen the film, watched that when it first came out, so he is familiar with the story, but he's not seen it recently, so hopefully I have a feeling that we're probably going to rewatch the film again at some point whilst he's reading this book, or if not shortly afterwards. I know that it's one of the projects that they're going to be doing towards the beginning of next year when school starts back in September. They're going to be doing a lot of work on this. She gave it as part of their summer homework was to read the book, and they meant to bring the copy with them when school starts again. So I know they're going to be doing lots of projects related with it. But yeah, it got me thinking about all these different things, like what books did everyone read when they were in school? Or at least what ones can you remember reading? Because I read a lot of books in school, and I can't remember all of them. There are obviously those ones like Anne Frank's diary, whatever, that really stuck with me, and so they're there. That's another one I would actually like to go back and reread. these books now that I'm an adult to see. This is also on the curiosity thing of the Tequila Mockingbird, which those that I knew that had read it while they were at school, and they were like, oh yeah, it was an amazing book. And I was like, okay, I'm going to read that one. So I got myself a copy and I read it, and it was an amazing book. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, do you have books like that? Is there a book that you wanted to read at school? It was on the reading list but didn't get picked for your particular class, and that you've then gone on to read as an adult later on? I would love to. I mean, was it worth it? Are you glad that you read it anyway? Do you wish that you had it as the chosen book for your class when you were at school? I would love to hear what you think about all these. Obviously, as well, there's also that aspect of, like, I read the BFG while I was at school. Obviously, growing up in England and stuff, I did read it at school. The fact that my son is now reading the Italian translation of it as part of his school reading project here in Italy, is there anyone else out there that is an expat and has moved and discovered that their kids are reading the same books that they read when they were at school? I would love to hear from you to see what you think about this. This is also a really good testimony for Roald Dahl, for example. The fact that his books are still such a popular choice for reading, also within, the school program and things, after all of these years. The fact that someone from my generation read it, and now my son's generation are reading it, I think that really does say a lot about the book. So yeah, I would love to hear, your feedback about this. Also, those of you that are bilingual, when it comes to like the translated versions of books, I do occasionally, most of my reading I do in English language, just because I prefer it, because reading for me is a way to relax, and it's more relaxing doing it in English. Also, I prefer to read in the original language. It's the same when I'm like watching films, certain things like Friends or Sex and the City, Bridget Jones's Diary. There's certain things that I have to watch in the original language, and for me they're just not right watching them in Italian. It sounds weird to my ears, and I can't deal with it. The same thing applies to books. I would much prefer to read them in the original language where possible. So I tend to do most of my reading in English. I do, however, occasionally read books in Italian language as well. Partly because it's just, for me now, there's not really much difference. I can understand it as well as I can read the English one, so the actual story doesn't really lose anything for me from that point of view. I do, however, like to occasionally read in Italian, also to kind of push myself a little bit more with my Italian, in the hopes that I will actually expand my vocabulary and things. But yeah, my kids, they read mostly in Italian, so they're kind of the opposite to me. They read mostly in Italian because obviously they've been born and grown up here, so Italian is their dominant language, if you like, but they do know the English as well, and so occasionally they will read the books in English. My youngest he's currently reading The Diary of a Wimpy Kid in English. But yeah, I always think about these kind of things. I like, how do other people feel about being like bilingual and reading the books in different languages and things. I'm just really curious about this in general. So yeah, this video, I'm just asking a lot of questions to see how you guys feel about these kind of things. Just to see what comes up. Are there books that you would not be able to read in a different language because, like the TV shows or whatever, it doesn't seem right to you? Do you have any books like that, for example? I don't think, for example, that I could read something like, well, classics, definitely, like Oscar Wilde translated. I would not be able to deal with that. I have to read him in English. Same for like Jane Austen or whatever. There's translated versions, and they are very good translations. It just, there's something gets lost in translation with certain things. So yeah, I'd want to read Italian authors in Italian and English authors in English. I did read a book by an Italian author in English, and it was very good. But I was immediately curious to know what it would be like to read his work in Italian, which is obviously his first language, and how it was written originally. That was Andrea Camellieri, I believe. So yeah, his series I have some of his books in Italian now, and I definitely want to read them just to see how it compares to like the English translated version of it. But yeah, anyway, so this is just really a video where I'm kind of thinking out loud just about these different things, and I'm just really curious to see if anyone else has kind of thought about this stuff, whether it's books from your childhood that you were made to read for school, books that you wish you'd been made to read at school because they were on the reading list but you just didn't get picked for your particular class. Did you then go on to read them later on? And are there any books that, for example, that you remember reading as a child for school or whatever, that your children are now reading for school as part of their projects and things? And then also the element of the translation and what languages you read in, and is the original language the option that you pick, or are you okay with the translated versions and things? Anyway, I would love to hear what your thoughts are about all of this, so please do get in touch down in the comments below. That's it for today. Please click on the subscribe button so you don't miss out on new uploads, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.